Welcome to the deep dive. Today, we've got quite an ambitious task ahead of us.
We certainly do.
We're going to be doing an in-depth exploration of the ancestral narratives in the book of Genesis.
Right, so that's chapters 12 through 50. And the sources you shared, they really compel us to look past the familiar stories we might know.
Yeah, the Sunday school versions.
Exactly. And instead, treat Genesis as this single, highly sophisticated literary masterwork. The argument is that this is not just some collection of tales.
And our mission here is to uncover what the sources call a massive hidden blueprint within these narratives. It's a complex, overarching organizational scheme.
A scheme that really suggests a single, cohesive, authorial hand at work.
Which is a big claim, because it pushes against the idea of it being a patchwork of disparate fragments assembled later.
That's right. And for you, the learner, the goal today is to define the structural device, see how it functions on a really microscopic lexical level.
And then see the big picture.
See the big picture. Understand how the structure itself reinforces the three foundational themes that, they drive the entire narrative of the Old Testament: covenant, land, and people.
Okay, let's jump right in. The sources all insist that the foundation of this unity is a literary structure called chiasmus.
Chiasmus, right.
Yeah.
At its simplest, you can think of it like a literary arch.
An arch.
Yeah. You have a series of episodes or themes that unfold in a sequence. Let's call them A, B, C, and so on.
Okay.
This sequence progresses until it hits a critical turning point, a focal point, or a pivot.
The peak of the arch.
Exactly. After that climax, the narrative then mirrors back on itself, dealing with the same themes, but in reverse order. C prime, B prime, A prime.
So it's not a straight line. It curves inward to a central message and then curves back out again.
Precisely. And the power of this argument, especially for, challenging some of the traditional source criticism, is the level of detail.
In what way?
Well, A doesn't just loosely match A prime. The corresponding sections B and B prime, C and C prime, they're linked by shared themes, matching motifs, and, this is the key, they often use identical or very, very rare words across huge stretches of text.
It's too specific to be an accident.
It's just too specific, yeah.
So if these narratives, Genesis 12 through 50, are held together by this powerful literary unity, what does that do to theories like the documentary hypothesis?
Well, it raises a profound challenge to it.
Because that theory divides Genesis into, what, three separate sources, J, E, and P?
Right. And if you have a sustained, large-scale chiastic structure holding together, say, 20 chapters, it strongly argues for a single, masterful, authorial mind.
Someone who planned the whole thing.
Someone who planned the entire narrative arc from the beginning, rather than, an editor stitching together fragments centuries later. The structure itself is the evidence for unity.
Now, before we dive into the Abraham cycle, the sources point out something crucial about the first 11 chapters of Genesis.
And a primeval history.
It doesn't use this pattern.
No, it doesn't. It uses a different structural rhythm, more of a repeating pattern than a mirroring one. And the sources suggest this is completely purposeful.
How so?
The primeval history creation, the flood, the Tower of Babel, it has a universalistic tone. It's about all of humanity.
I see.
But when the focus shifts to Abraham and the covenant, the structure shifts dramatically to chiasmus. It's signaling a new, particularistic focus.
On a specific people, a specific land, and a specific covenant.
That structural change is like a massive literary flashing arrow telling the reader, pay attention, the topic has changed.
The structure is the message.
The structure is the message.
Okay, so let's look at the first major chiasm, the Abraham cycle. This covers Genesis 11.27 all the way through 22.24. It's a deep pattern, A through E, a focal point, and then back out again. So where is the absolute center of this journey?
The structural center, which is also the theological pivot point, is right at Genesis 17, verses 1 through 5.
So what happens there that's so important?
Well, several things all converge in this one spot. Abram's name is changed to Abraham.
A complete shift in his identity.
A complete shift. And crucially, this is where the Brit, the Hebrew word for covenant, is fully elaborated. That single chapter, Genesis 17, uses the term Brit a remarkable 13 times.
13 times.
It defines the entire relationship going forward. This is the structural center, because the covenant is the center of the story.
And this is where the details get, genuinely breathtaking. The sources link the very start of Abraham's journey to the very end.
They do.
Let's look at Unit B, which is Abram leaving Haran in chapter 12, and the corresponding unit, B prime, the sacrifice of Isaac in chapter 22.
Yeah.
Right. They share this unique lexical link, the command to go forth.
Yes, the Hebrew phrase is work leka. It's used in 12.1, where God commands Abram to leave everything he knows.
And then,
And then, 10 chapters and decades later, the exact same, very specific phrase, rok levka, is used again in 22.2, commanding Abraham to take Isaac and go to the land of Moriah.
wait, you're saying that specific phrase, ok, loka, it only appears those 2 times.
In the entire Bible.
That's staggering.
It is. This one unique idiom is used to bookend Abraham's entire spiritual odyssey. And in both cases, he's told to go to a place that God will simply show him.
So the destination is unknown.
The destination is unknown. It's the ultimate test of trust.
Which deeply connects 2 moments of ultimate faith, doesn't it? The B unit is God's first major speech to him. B prime is God's final culminating speech.
His life begins and ends at the same command. Trust me, step out and go.
That is the essence of faith.
It is. And if we look at the climax of that journey, the B prime unit, the Akita, it's the defining test. The sources stress this was a test of commitment, not for God to find something out, but to expose and strengthen Abraham's own belief.
And the language is so heavy with emotional weight.
Oh, intentionally so.
Yeah.
God says, take your son, your only son, Isaac, whom you love.
He just keeps twisting the knife.
It elevates the emotional stakes to the highest possible level. The test reveals that Abraham's love for the giver, God, was greater than his love for the gift, Isaac.
This also sets up a really critical theological point about God's character.
It provides total clarity. The sources are unanimous. Child sacrifice is explicitly called an abomination elsewhere in Scripture.
So this wasn't God actually wanting a child sacrifice.
Not at all. The fact that God intervenes and provides a substitute ram proves that the command was a test of intentional obedience. It's a statement on Abraham's faith, not God's ethics.
So Abraham had to be willing.
He had to be willing. And some scholars suggest that Abraham had reached a point where he believed God could even raise Isaac from the dead to fulfill the promise.
And this incredible act of obedience comes right after the fulfillment of that very promise.
Exactly, with the miraculous birth of Isaac in Genesis 21. The timing is paramount. Isaac's birth occurred at the set time of which God had spoken.
Divine exactness.
Absolute reliability. I mean, Sarah was 90 years old. It shows that God's sovereignty just overrides impossibility. The fulfillment relies entirely on God's power.
No room for human credit.
None. And the name itself, Isaac. He laughs. It reflects that journey from disbelief to ultimate joy. The waiting was purposeful.
Now, if we shift just a bit, we get to the C and C prime units, and these deal with the messy, painful realities of human failure.
Yes, specifically concerning Hagar and Ishmael.
This is a tough story. It shows Abraham failing to protect Sarah, Sarah's jealousy, Hagar's suffering.
Genuine mistreatment. The sources are pretty stark here. The Hebrew word used for mistreated implies force, even physical violence from Sarah.
It's a painful reminder that the patriarchs weren't perfect.
Not at all. But even in this, despite the expulsion of Hagar and Ishmael, God shows immense grace to the outsider. He promises to make Ishmael a great nation.
Because he's Abraham's descendant.
Right. And Hagar, a non-Israelite slave, becomes one of the very few people in Scripture to actually give God a name after seeing him.
Hell.
The God who sees me. Which is then perfectly matched by the meaning of her son's name, Ishmael.
God hears.
God hears the boy crying in the wilderness and responds. It's this crucial balance, showing his care extends beyond the immediate covenant line.
Okay, so as the Abraham cycle winds down, we get this formal treaty with Abimelech at Beersheba.
The name Beersheba is structurally important. It means both well of 7, for the 7 lambs that seal the oath, and well of oath. It's a place defined by a contract.
And this is where Abraham calls upon the name of the Lord, El Olam.
The eternal God.
Why is that name El Olam so significant at this specific point?
Because it underscores the permanent nature of the covenant that was established at the structural center.
Ah, okay.
Abraham is trusting promises of land, of descendants that he knows he will not see fulfilled in his lifetime. Only an eternal God and El Olam can guarantee a contract that spans millennia.
The structure keeps forcing you back to the reliability of the divine promise.
Honestly.
All right, let's expand this. The Abraham cycle is complete, but this chiastic structure, it continues into the next generation.
Yes, the Jacob cycle, Genesis 25 to 35, follows a very similar A through F pattern.
And its pivot point.
It's Jacob's decision to leave Laban and return to Canaan. This is prompted by Rachel finally giving birth to Joseph.
So the narrative pivots toward the land.
Exactly.
The land.
The detail connections here are just as sharp. Let's look at C and C prime. Jacob stealing Esau's blessing, and then their emotional reconciliation decades later.
The link here uses a fascinating detail involving the word for neck, the Hebrew awai awar.
Okay, tell us how that links them across so much text.
All right, so the word appears when Rebekah puts goat skins on Jacob's smooth neck to deceive Isaac.
Right, to steal the blessing.
Then, years later, when Jacob and Esau finally reunite, the corresponding unit, C prime, uses the very same word when Esau runs and falls on Jacob's neck.
In reconciliation.
And those are the only two times that word for neck appears in the entire Jacob cycle. That is brilliant. The same body part used for deception is later used for reconciliation.
And there's more. Those CC prime units are also linked by the dual meaning of the Hebrew word baraka.
Okay.
In C, the whole story is about the baraka, the blessing that Jacob steals. In C prime, the word appears again, but this time it means the gift Jacob gives to Esau to appease him.
So the theme is the same, but it's reversed from theft to gift.
Exactly. The structure forces you to compare the two.
That kind of intentionality just demands a thoughtful reader. Okay, finally, we reach the Joseph story.
Genesis 37 to 50.
This part often feels more like a single unified novel, but you're saying the chiasmus is still there.
It is. AF, focal point, FA. And the pivot point is maybe the most emotionally powerful of all three.
When Joseph reveals himself to his brothers.
Genesis 45. The whole story hinges on that moment of reversal and forgiveness. This center emphasizes the survival and preservation of the people of Israel.
And the connection between the matching units here, C and C prime, is incredibly sophisticated. It connects two scenes that seem totally unrelated.
It does. C is Joseph resisting Potiphar's wife, and C prime is Jacob crossing his hands to bless Ephraim over Manasseh.
What could possibly link those two?
A very specific and rare verbal root is ZB, which means to lie down.
Okay.
Potiphar's wife's lie in Unit C is all about this root. She uses it 4 times, demanding Joseph lie with her.
And where does it show up again?
It reappears once in C prime when Jacob asks to be buried, saying, "When I lie down with my fathers." But the real link is a shared phrase.
Go on.
The phrase, "and he resisted and said," is used for Joseph resisting Potiphar's wife. And years later, the author uses a strikingly similar phrase for Jacob resisting Joseph when he tries to correct his crossed hands.
So Jacob is resisting Joseph's attempt to bless the older son first.
Right. And the author is using the structure to draw a parallel.
Between resisting sin and resisting what? Human logic.
Precisely. It's a statement about sovereignty. Joseph resisted sin, trusting God's plan even when it landed him in prison. Jacob resists Joseph's logical request, trusting God's predetermined order.
It connects a personal moral test to a cosmic covenantal blessing.
That's it. The structure shows that God's sovereign purpose overrides human intention, whether that intention is sinful or just well-meaning.
Okay, let's step all the way back now and look at the master synthesis. We have these 3 massive literary cycles, all built on this chiastic structure. What do the 3 focal points tell us when we put them all together?
Well, they reveal the absolute, non-negotiable core message of the entire book.
Let's review them. The Abraham cycle pivot was Genesis 17.
Centered on the covenant, the Jurat.
The Jacob cycle pivot, Genesis 30.
Centered on the land of Canaan, with Jacob's decision to return.
And the Joseph story pivot, Genesis 45.
Centered on the preservation of the people of Israel, with the family reunion.
Covenant land people.
When you read the book through this structural lens, the thesis statement just emerges. God and the people of Israel are linked via the covenant. This whole drama unfolds in the land, and it all centers on the formation and preservation of the people.
And this essential truth, it's not in bold text somewhere. It's not a sermon. It's embedded in the very architecture of the book itself.
It is an incredibly sophisticated delivery mechanism. The text forces you to slow down, to compare and contrast, and to actively uncover the full message. The structure guarantees that Genesis has to be read as one unified work.
So what does this all mean for you, the learner? What we've uncovered is that the literary unity, revealed by these huge chiastic structures, is the very mechanism that delivers the core message of the book.
And those details, like the repeated ultrica command, they aren't just trivia. They are the threads that hold the entire tapestry together.
It's a testament to the idea that these ancient texts can be as deliberately planned as any modern novel.
Absolutely. It ensures that the reader, even centuries later, is forced to recognize the unwavering purpose of the eternal God concerning his promises.
And here is a final provocative thought for you to consider. We noted that the structure shifted dramatically from the primeval history, Genesis 1 to 11, to the ancestral narratives.
The shift from universal concerns to particular ones.
Right, so if a literary structure can signal such a massive shift in focus in an ancient text, how might structural choices in other literature you read, or even in movies, or the chapter structure of a novel be signaling an intentional shift in focus, tone, or message that you might otherwise miss? Something to ponder until our next deep dive.